Hi, it's Paul Guppy with Washington Policy Center with our regular update about issues that are happening around our state. As always, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. That helps build our audience. Today, I'm going to be talking about 5 issues real quickly. One is government corruption that's popped up in Spokane. Next is a new tax credit that's available for school choice. Also, some false information on Medicaid reform that our governor has been putting out. And some quick information about Washington's 10-year decline on key metrics. And then finally, the question, is Sound Transit going broke? How is that possible? So let's jump into it right now. First up is an ethics complaint that has been filed in Spokane against Mayor Brown and some of the 5 of the city council members there. This is being reported by Center Square. And it's really surprising because Washington State has a reputation for having open government, clean government, and yet these shenanigans were taking place last June 16th at the council. The mayor had put forward a fairly controversial proposal, but could be effective on dealing with public camping. The people of Spokane, a little bit of background, had passed a popular ordinance that said that public camping is not allowed within 1,000 feet of a school or a public park. This is to preserve public spaces safely for the general public, the taxpayers that use it, families, children. That passed in Spokane by 75% of the vote, overwhelming support. Of course, it was challenged by activists immediately. It went to our left-leaning liberal state Supreme Court, and big surprise, the judges struck it down. So then the mayor comes back with her own proposal, changing some details. She put it up before the council. It wasn't good enough, didn't go far enough. And so in a late evening session on June 16th, as I mentioned, the public is there. They're stating their objections, their concerns about this proposal. Public discussion was over. The council went to a vote and they voted it down. So the mayor lost. So then at 10:51 p.m., the city council in Spokane went into recess. The public thought it's a late night meeting, it's over. Most people went home. 8 minutes later, the council came back into session, and mysteriously, 2 Democrat council members had changed their vote. And the mayor made her proposal again, and it passed. So now text messages going back and forth, the different records are coming out showing that something funny happened in those dark 8 minutes when the council was on recess. Again, most of the public and reporters who were there thought that the meeting was over. It's pushing 11 p.m. at night. People thought we were done for the night. Not so. So now there's been a ethics complaint, as I mentioned, proposed about this. The details about what happened are being investigated. But more importantly for Washington Policy Center, as I said up front, what matters to us is the reputation of Washington State for clean, open government. We have one of the strongest public records and open meetings acts in the country. We have been building this reputation for more than a century, dating back to the progressive era in 1910, 1912. And here that reputation is being frittered away by the maneuverings of politicians in Spokane and sometimes at the state level in Olympia as well. So the reason we follow issues like this is not necessarily to pick who's right. The ethics process will figure that out. Our concern is that the more monkey business that there is with our open meetings laws and the more behind the scenes shenanigans that go on, it undermines public trust in the result. And by the way, the council is still not dealing effectively with public camping in Spokane and delivering results for the public. So we hope that that all works out there. Second issue I want to touch on quickly is there's a national conversation going on. This is being reported in the Wall Street Journal about blue states now facing a tough decision about education choice. This is being monitored closely by our audacious education analyst, Vicki Murray. She's tracking what's happening in the other 49 states on this. I've talked about it before, and here's where things stand. The federal Department of Education is putting together rules that will allow states to join a new law that President Trump signed on July 4th. That new law allows a $1,700 tax credit to anybody who donates to a school choice scholarship in their state. In order for residents to become eligible, the governor of each state has to opt in. As you would expect, red states are jumping in as soon as the process will be available. This is what Vicki is tracking. Blue states, however, face a dilemma about whether they will allow their states to participate. This is very similar to what happened when Obamacare passed. The federal government had Medicaid expansion, but it was optional for the states. In that case, red states were under pressure to expand Medicaid for their residents. Some did, some didn't. Here we are 15 years later, and now it's Democrats in blue states face this dilemma of whether to opt into a federal tax credit program and allow, in our case, Washingtonians, Oregonians, Californians, New Yorkers, people in Illinois. Those are the states that are going to be the holdouts and possibly block their citizens from donating $1,700 for school scholarships. We are hopeful that Washington State will decide to opt in, but that's the dilemma that those states are facing right now. Third issue, our illustrious governor, Bob Ferguson, issued a tweet on July 17th, which was charitably, I'll call it misleading, in which he said the following. I've heard from people around the state that the new law signed by Donald Trump to reform Medicaid is Medicaid cuts, and that half the children in 26 of 39 counties are covered by Medicaid. So this is the parsing that lawyers do. He doesn't technically say that children are going to be kicked off of Medicaid, but that is the broad implication. And that is wrong on two counts. Number one, Medicaid is not being cut. Medicaid spending is increasing. Number two, the reforms that were passed in the new law that was passed do not involve children in any way. They only apply to adults. They are common sense work requirements, which, by the way, Democrats in the Clinton administration supported in the 1990s, work requirement for welfare. This is a work requirement for able-bodied adults to continue to participate in Medicaid. But wait, the deal is even better than that, because the so-called work requirement can be satisfied by 20 hours a week of either regular work, a job, but also volunteering, education, or job training. So you can be involved in a lot of different constructive, improving activities that make your life better, 20 hours a week. And if you're an able-bodied adult, you would meet that requirement and be able to continue in Medicaid. That is not too hard of a requirement. And yet our governor is indicating wrongly that the new law is going to, quote, kick children off Medicaid. That is not the case. And we always try to follow the facts and debunk any misleading messages that are being put out there. Fourth issue I'll touch on is the 10-year decline that has happened on key metrics in our state. This is based on the research that we have put out in the report card for Washington's future, and I'll just touch on a couple of metrics that we are measuring. First one is our business climate rating has plummeted in Washington state. In the same way that we're concerned about our reputation for clean government, we are also concerned about our state's reputation for having a welcoming, positive, constructive business climate. 10 years ago, we were 6th in the country in our business climate. We have fallen to 45th. So increasing regulations, the Climate Commitment Act, new taxes on gasoline, a new tax on capital investment, rent control, banning single-family zoning, all of those are all adding up to make a harsher business climate for our state, and we're sorry to lose that reputation. Second metric is overspending. So we've reported this before, state government general spending has increased from $33 billion 10 years ago to about $77 billion today. Just earlier this year, the Democrats passed the largest tax increase in our history. So all of that is adding up to growing the size of government. Even if you account for population growth and inflation from 2013-15 to today, state government has grown by 48% net. Okay, gross, it is basically doubled. But even if you account inflation and population, the government has still grown by almost 50%, larger today than it was in the past. And then the last metric we've looked at is education spending. For decades, the people of Washington state were told explicitly that voting for more taxes, spending more on schools, pouring more money into the public education system will help students. And that has not proven to be the case. Our spending per student in the state is, again, almost doubled over the last 10 or 12 years. And yet test scores are going down, dropout rates are still high, academic performance by students has been declining. So we're getting to the point where the more money you put into the system, it's actually worse for students. And that's why we're hopeful that school choice options will begin to turn that around. And the last issue I'll touch on is the question, is Sound Transit going broke? This was research done by the stalwart Charles Prestrud, our transportation expert. He's looked into the numbers on this. What he did follow was a slideshow presentation that was given by the staff of Sound Transit to the governing board of Sound Transit, and it is not good news for the way that agency is being run. When I saw this, I thought to myself, how is it possible that an agency which is collecting $1.5 billion a year in taxes, property taxes, vehicle fees, sales taxes, they have a whole bunch of different sources of revenue, and yet they're still not able to build projects within their budget. So that presentation was on July 24th, and it shows a bleak financial picture. The other thing for me as an analyst is, you know that an agency is in trouble when they begin to use more obscure gobbledygook to explain. And so these slides include terms like, we have an enterprise plan, we have available financial capacity, that is their taxes. We need a comprehensive effort to get things done. We're going to engage in iterative management. And terms like that just obscure meaning rather than convey it. And what the slideshow does not have is a comparison of their revenues and planned future spending and the gap between the two of them. There's just a complete lack of dollar figures that would give the average person the ability to find out what's going on with this agency. One thing about looking at government is, when you look at a presentation and it's about revenues, you realize that they really do have something to hide, that there must be underlying problems if they're not being upfront with the numbers. And I was wrong earlier. Actually, Sound Transit collects more like $2.5 billion in revenue every year. And that adds up to about $1,700 per household in Sound Transit's taxing district. They faced the same kind of crisis in 2001, 2009, 2021, and this is just a recurring pattern with this agency. And yet there is no pullback on pushing forward with their mission. $150 billion over to the year 2050 is what they're planning to spend now. I've often said that the closest thing to immortality is a government program. It doesn't matter what the results are, failing to meet their goals, falling short, broken promises. Once the revenue stream starts and the project is underway in construction and the agency is benefiting from all that money, there is no turning back. The most ominous slide in this entire 26 slides that they had showed to the Sound Transit board was looking at their options to, quote, maximize existing revenue opportunities. And that's code language for more taxes coming. They want to get a bailout from the state, get more taxing authority, by hook or by crook, find some way to get access to more of our money in order to keep this agency moving forward. So with that, I'll wrap up this summary. I'll mention quickly, we have summer socials coming up for our young professional program in Seattle and Spokane. That's on August 6th and August 13th. Going to be a lot of fun. We are hosting an event in Yakima with the Business Chamber there. That is on August 19th. And as always, our annual dinner is planned in Bellevue for September 11th. We have great speakers for that, and as usual, that event sells out. So I want to let everyone know that tickets are on sale now. And with that, I'll wrap up and be back in the future with another update. Thanks for listening.
If you found this informative, share it with a friend, and consider checking out one of our suggested videos over here. Make sure you're subscribed so that you can stay up to date with the latest policy news from Washington.